Hey guys, welcome to the Property Panel Podcast. You got myself, Jalen Hardcastle, here with co-host Josh Story, and we got the man with the plan, Big E, behind the screen over there, making sure everything runs smoothly. So we appreciate you. And Josh, before we dive into episode 20 and today's topics, why don't you go ahead and thank our sponsors?
Yeah, I'd like to thank our title sponsors for this podcast. Big shout out to Collier Title Company. If you need deed prep, title work, closings, and more, they're located in Brandenburg, E-Town, and Louisville, and you can call them at 270-763-6589. And then I want to thank this week's sponsor, We Buy Houses. We can offer cash and close in as little as 2 weeks. You can give us a call at 270-945-5416 or 270-945-7189.
Yeah, thank you for that, Josh. And if you or anyone you know would like to be a monthly, weekly, or yearly sponsor, we have 3 different options in your advertise on our intros, outros, as well as intermissions, as well as all social media platforms. So we're on about 5 or 6 different platforms at the moment, and that's 100 weekly, 300 monthly, and 3,000 yearly. And that is tax deductible, so we'll give you an invoice and you can write that off, as a business expense if you would so please. But yeah, it helps us get our podcast moving. As you can tell, we're changing week in and week out, and we're still grinding. I think our next few things that we're going to be on the grindstone for is getting some more visual pleasing stuff behind us, getting a little better background, and just making it more of, a chill area to be able to bring you the best information we can.
Yeah, currently we're on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can find us at Property Panel if you just look us up. And like Jalen was saying, we definitely appreciate the follows, especially shares, subscribes, all that stuff. It really helps us and motivates us to keep going, helps us get out there and, get more sponsorships to fuel the podcast and keep improving. But today we're going to be going over inspecting investments. Just in general, what inspections are, how they work and what they're important for. Jay, do you want to kick it off and kind of go over what a home inspection is?
Yeah, so basically a home inspection is exactly how it sounds. It's an inspection on your home, but it's not just like your other inspections that you might have. Obviously, there's a bunch of different inspections you can get on your home. Just for instance, you can get a septic inspection, structural inspection, foundation inspection, roof inspection, so many different inspections. But the home inspection and home inspector is actually going to be taking care of looking at every single part of your home. They're not just doing the head and shoulders in the attic and crawls. They're going full-fledged in this house, flipping every light switch, testing every receptacle, making sure everything, is sound and clear. And they're going to, like I said, get in your attics, your crawl spaces. They're going to check out your sheds. They're going to make sure the grading of your house is, correct to prevent water from standing in unnecessary spots. So I think inspections are a great asset to protect yourself and your investments whenever purchasing real estate, for sure.
Yeah, and they're going to be checking like the standards for components and parts on like your HVAC systems and stuff to the best of their ability, just to see if there's any defects with the pieces of the property that would probably concern you. They're typically non-invasive and it does cost a fee. It really depends on the size of your home and where you're located, but typically they can get out there within the week, so that's important to keep in mind. But they come up with a comprehensive report and kind of break it down in each individual section, whether it be exterior or interior, from the roof to the crawl space, they go over everything. So do you think that they're necessary for home buyers?
So like I said, I think it protects you and your investment. I know a lot of, especially first-time home buyers, they're struggling, for every dollar, to get the loan approved. So I think more buyers that are first-time home buyers or the buyers that are barely, on that approval line are the ones that might try and stray away from an inspection when in all reality, I think that they are who need it most, because it is their first time buying a house. They don't really know what to look for. And that home inspection is not necessarily to nitpick the house apart, but it's for future maintenance, and it's to prevent future problems down the road after you purchase this property. But it also does give you that advantage. So if you do find something major, you can get that negotiated or potentially back out if you'd like.
Yeah, it sets you up for a repair request if you need repairs. And like Jalen said, if you're kind of just struggling to get the down payment in general and closing costs, I think it's even more important. That way you're not buying an investment that or a home that you just can't afford down the line. If all these systems start breaking and you weren't expecting it, that price can run up real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and another thing that I think a lot of people don't look into is the pre-listing inspections. I know that you might be able to give us a little more leeway into those, but I think it's very important for those people, especially sellers, to get an idea of what repairs might be necessary for that house and go ahead and knock out the major ones so future buyers don't find that and that they might see that as a problem. And it might sound like you're hiding some, but no, you're just wanting to make something sound and structurally safe. And if it's fixed, obviously the next inspector is not going to find that. And if they do find signs of something, you can show the receipts and show that it was done by a reputable contractor, to get yourself out of high waters.
Yeah, and the pre-listing inspection is basically the same type of inspection that a regular home inspection would be. It's a really good way to kind of prep yourself for what you might come across with different buyers, because they're probably going to do their own home inspection, and so you know what to expect. The defaults of your home, and like you said, you can make some repairs to maybe save that time and money later.
And it isn't, sorry to cut you off, but it's not a requirement. I think some people might think a home inspection is a requirement, and despite what you might think, it's not. That is a way to save you $500 or so, but at the same time, when you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, that $500 is pretty minuscule in the grand scheme of things when it could potentially protect you from making a bad investment.
Yeah, and you get to hold on to that report, so as these problems arise, you can look back through your report and see how to address those. But keep in mind, these home inspections, they're not to meet code, and they're not a pass or fail. They're simply just telling you the ins and outs of the home, what the defaults are, and the best way to address those.
And another thing that I think some people that might not think of, like, what problems could you run into on your investments? Like, obviously they're going to find some faulty light switchers, or maybe not a GFCI in the correct location that it's supposed to be for safety, but I think some people think that they don't look as far as their roof or their gutters or their fascia or their soffit and stuff like that, those small things add up to make a difference. And if your gutter's just tweaked just wrong or doesn't have the downspout, and another thing, I think that those extenders, or those splash blocks as the appraisers like to call them, people think that's not necessary, but that 2 or 3 extra feet that water's getting diverted from your property and from your foundation is going to make your home last umpteen times longer, just because it's obviously not creating as much as erosion, and stuff's not settling as quickly.
I've seen that firsthand at my house. We didn't have a splash guard or a downspout. And then on heavy rains, it would, start to slightly leak in my basement, but then I installed just a simple splash guard, and that kind of negated all that. So,
it's crazy how that little thing can, affect so much.
If it rains heavy, it just soaks up the ground all around your crawl space, and that's why you want to get the water as far away as possible.
And then typically we see homes that fall into 2 different categories when it comes to concerns. Homes with 1 or major concerns, and then homes with a long list of moderate concerns. So especially in today's market, it's a very competitive market. So a lot of these sellers are trying to sell as is, so they don't have to worry about this as much. But, typically whenever you do get an inspection, you're going to have that list. And like we've shown you before on Ethan's home inspection that we showed, it has 3 different color-coded categories. Some are just, for your knowledge, some are moderate, and some are severe problems, and obviously you're going to have lesser of the severe problems in most cases. But we have been seeing a lengthy repair request list more often than not. And a lot of times it's just miscellaneous repairs and stuff that could have been prevented with a pre-listing inspection, or just, proper reoccurring home maintenance.
Yeah, and even on new constructions, I think these are necessary, especially with the new construction, because, you're wanting to get a brand new house, kind of out of the box, and you would think there's going to be no issues with them. But, in a home inspection, you're going to be able to find, the defects to even a new construction that you might not expect. And I think that's really good for protecting your investment, when you're buying new.
Yeah, and it's not just like a pass-fail, or like you said, it's not a code inspection. It's just showing some defects that's wrong with the home. And, it's not a prediction for the future conditions. It's just saying, hey, this is what these problems could arise. Nothing's ever set in stone. But ultimately, a home inspection's not made to negotiate in the contract, but it's just for a future guide of home maintenance. And I think a lot of buyers are misconstrued on that topic.
Yeah, they don't, like you said, they don't just go over they don't go over all the bad stuff. They go over everything. So, even some parts in the home inspection, you'll see it's just kind of checked off, like this part's good to go. So you'll know all the ins and outs of the property. But yeah.
And it doesn't reveal every issue that could exist or will exist. Obviously we're not magicians. We can't tell or predict the
see through
future.
walls.
But stuff does happen and it could be missed. But that's why you want to get your reputable home inspector too, like Taylor Home Inspections, that we've had be a sponsor here in the past. He does like this 90-day buyback guarantee. So if you find something that goes wrong that he might have missed in the home inspection, he has insurance in place to take care of that property and could potentially buy it back from you if that's what the route you wanted to go. So
yeah, and the prices on home inspections, they can vary between home inspectors. As you mentioned, John Taylor at Taylor Home Inspections, I really like using him. He's really thorough. Which I don't know as far as his prices, but sometimes you pay for more and you get a better service in some situations. But really it's up to you. We'll always recommend like a list of home inspectors and help you guide you through that. But every home inspector is different. They might cost a little different, might have a different process. There's different turnaround times as well. Some home inspectors can get it turned around in 24 hours. Some might take a day or two.
Yeah, and that's something that I would like to discuss with the home inspector. Maybe we might need to have one on and see what the deal is, which, like you said, not every home inspector is the same. So some do get those reports out same day or within 24 hours, but there are some inspectors that might like to take 72 hours to get that report in, or some might take a week or two to get it scheduled. And then sometimes they'll act like they're busy and they'll schedule it the same day. You never really know. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to work together towards the same goal. We're trying to keep each other business afloat, trying to keep it moving and, move on to the next one.
Which, typically in our contracts, we have, I think I usually put about a 10-day inspection window. So if we're getting scheduled a week out and then it takes 3 days to get that report, that kind of catches us up on the repair request.
Yeah, and that's something that I primarily use John at the moment. I like how he does his inspections, and we have a good working relationship together. But that is one thing with him that might hinder us sometimes, is him taking a while to get that report back, because I personally do a little lower time frame for those inspections, because obviously I want to make it more appealing to the sellers that we don't have as long as a time frame to find something wrong, so that kind of puts the ball in our court to get stuff done quickly. But at the same time, we're showing initiative, and we want these things to be done, and we're not holding up the process. But 3 days ain't much difference.
No.
But at the end of the day, you do want to get a quick timeline. And even for us or other agents, whenever you're looking at these offers and you do see that long, because sometimes I see them put 14, 20 days for inspection timeline. I'm like, that's almost the full extent of the contract.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to have this, so
No.
I'm going to negotiate that down to 5 or 7 if you want to put 20 days on there.
20 days is
I want to
crazy.
protect my client the best I can, whether it's my sellers or my buyers, and that's why you need an educated agent, that has the clientele and the resources as far as inspectors and other, moving parts in this industry that can really get you to the closing table quickest.
Right, and there's so many inspectors out there. If one of them can't make your schedule, you can always see if there's someone else who's available. Usually they can get you out next day. Sometimes it's like 2 or 3 days, but
and then there's kind of the day-old question, with especially nowadays, everything's on the rise as far as price goes, inflation and all that we've talked about many times before on the podcast. But I get someone that's like, hey, I got someone that can do your home inspection I recommend. And they're like, well, can so-and-so do it cheaper? I'm like, well, they can do it cheaper, but they're not as tedious. You're not getting the full investment on your inspection. And, like I said, even that $500 is nothing in the hundreds of thousands you're spending. What is that $75 going to do to save you money on that home inspection? You're going to get a lackluster report, in my opinion, and it's not going to be as tedious. So you got to think of your cost versus value and your time versus money kind of thing. And, clients, they need a solid inspection. So we want a solid inspector.
Yeah, and some inspectors also give out veterans discounts, which helps a lot of my clients.
Yep.
So that's awesome, and I would definitely ask about that if you are a veteran. See if you can get that discount and save some money. Jalen, what about inspecting a smaller home versus a bigger home? Does it take longer?
It's actually, so it's kind of funny to think of. You would think bigger house, more time. Well, no. Every house got 4 walls for the most part, so you're going to be inspecting the same stuff, whether it's in a 4,000 square home or a 1,400 square foot home. They're going to have the same components and the same running features in the home, and you got to take your time to inspect each individual part. So obviously it might take a little bit longer to inspect a little bit more square footage, but at the end of the day, most inspectors are going to put about a 3 to 4 hour turnaround time as far as getting in there and getting that inspection done.
What about how much do they cost? I know it depends.
So on average, I would say I always tell people around 500. If you want to go with Joe Schmo, that's a little cheaper. We can get you, 475, 450, like I said. But then obviously it does depend on your square footage, and I've seen them as far up as $750, for the right home and the particular property and what they was wanting inspected, And then obviously, like I said, you can have them inspect each individual outbuilding if you want, or you can pay just for the structure of the house, the dwelling itself. So there are different options and different prices that you can go, but each inspector is different and each house is a different case. So, you really got to go ahead and get a quote from maybe a couple if you really want to be that way. But I would trust the advice of your realtor and go with who they recommend.
Yeah, which we already went over turnaround time. But as far as getting the inspection scheduled, all the inspector typically needs is the contact information of whoever's purchasing it, in which us as realtors will facilitate that if you'd like. They'll only reach out to you for contact as far as payment or just scheduling if you're the seller. But, that's a pretty quick and easy process to get one scheduled. And then as far as payment, they pretty much take every kind of payment, whether it's cash, whether it's, card or over the phone.
I've even heard some take Cash App. I've had one take
App.
Cash App.
Really?
Yeah. Of all things. Cool. I mean, hey, you got to get that money somehow.
Yeah. I mean, it's handy, easy to use. And like you were saying, inspections typically last 2 to 4 hours. And sometimes our buyers want to, come to the inspection and kind of get a rundown. We always recommend you go to like the last 15 to 30 minutes of that inspection just so you don't bother the inspector while he's working. And then he can do a breakdown there at the property, just kind of tell you what he's found. So that way you're kind of on top of it before you get your report.
And like you said, after you get that report back, you can, I know that we said you shouldn't use it as leverage, but at that point in time, you do put in that inspection time frame. If you do find some major flaws with the property, obviously get those requested to be fixed or negotiate some money in lieu of repair somehow. There's multiple ways that we can agree to make the deal work, and if it's the home for you, I don't think a couple repairs should hold you back, obviously, if they're not major safety concerns. But, you can use that property as or that inspection as leverage if you wanted to, and negotiate the price down, repairs be done or what have you.
Allowances, things like that. Yeah, it's definitely useful. Especially as a first-time home buyer, you want to make sure that you're in a structure home at least. And, unless the home's being sold as is, most times sellers are willing to work with you, at least on some of the repairs. So, like you said, it's a good leveraging tool.
And I know this doesn't help you as far as the negotiation process, but I know a lot of buyers are missing out on opportunities because of inspections. They're getting beat out by more cash offers than we've ever seen in history in real estate. And, no inspections, no appraisals, no nothing. So it's pretty hard to beat out those offers. But one way that I can recommend, if you do have like an FHA or VA, loan, which typically the appraisals are a little more tedious, I would recommend that you write in, yes, if you want to have a home inspection, have one, but you're accepting the house as is. And then I like to add in the seller to make only appraisal required repairs if any are needed, so that way it protects the buyer as well. Everything's going to be done up to a T because nowadays the loans have these inspections in place to protect these banks and these mortgage companies. So, obviously they don't go belly up and go under.
Yeah. Whether it's VA or FHA, they both kind of have a different rule set. So when their appraisal comes in, they kind of inspect it almost, not just an appraisal. But, like you said, just recently I had one under contract that kind of the same situation. It was sold as is, but they were at least willing to make loan required repairs. So that's important to include in your contract if you're representing the buyer, to make sure that, you don't get all the way through inspections and then it fall through because of, the as-is reasons.
Right.
So,
Ethan,
keep that in mind.
You got anything to say on the inspections?
They can be tedious.
They can be tedious.
A lot of pages.
Yep, and they go over everything, don't they? As you can tell in that one
do.
episode, we went over yours, so they even had that prison break toilet in there.
But I will say, as a first-time buyer getting into a new house, it's definitely well worth the money.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Because sure, you can guess some things. It was an older house, but there's still stuff I couldn't see.
Yep.
And they're professionals. They know what they're looking
That's
for.
What they're trained for that.
So did you use your inspection report to kind of to figure out what you wanted to do or some of it?
Here and there, yeah. Most of the stuff on there we did already plan to fix, but there were a couple things like up in the attic or on the roof that we then had to take care of because, I didn't climb on the roof when I went and looked at it.
How's that going? You getting close?
Yep. Should be done end of this month.
Heck yeah.
Good deal,
Heck
man.
yeah. We're,
That's
we're
awesome.
proud of you, happy to have you on the studio. We know you've been gone the last couple of weeks. He's a busy man, but that's what we like to strive to be in real estate. We all got our, working connections, and we take time out of our day to give you the most useful information in real estate that we can. But before we get to the next topic, let's do a brief intermission. And before we head there, why don't you thank our sponsors?
Yeah, I want to thank our title sponsors for this podcast. Thank you to Collier Title Company. If you need deed prep, title work, closings, and more.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Property Panel Podcast. Thank you for sticking with us during that brief intermission. Obviously, today we're going over inspecting your investments and, is it worth it or not? Should you get a pre-listing inspection? The question is always yes in my book. I don't know about you, Josh, but I think that that's about the best way you can protect your investment before you actually buy it.
Definitely highly recommended. Every time I have a client, whether they're listing or they're buying, I always recommend the home inspection. It just kind of sets you up for success. If it's in your budget, definitely makes sense to do. But yeah, I guess we're going to be getting into the major issues that you can run into with investments and with home inspections. And I guess we'll kick it off with, roof damage. They're going to be looking for aged / damaged roof systems, poor repairs, poor or improper installation. I think that's one of the most crucial points because water kind of just destroys everything. It'll, get into your electrical, it'll get into your structural. It really affects everything. So I think that's one of the most important parts of the inspection.
Yeah, I'd have to agree because even if you look at these new construction homes, as soon as they get them framed, the next thing that they put on and one of the first things they put on is the roof because you don't want that weather getting in and ruining all your, hardwood like we talked about in that, modular versus, construction episode that we did a while back. The modular homes, despite people think are super strong and well built nowadays, and they're not subject to the elements, creating more issues and more price increases. So, but I think another thing too, that obviously roof, like you said, is number one. I think number two would be the settlement or the settling and like the settlement, your grading of your house, because obviously, poor direction of roof drainages, negative, grading to the lot is all, like you said, water is your biggest issue whenever you're, dealing with anything. So obviously you want to protect those things.
A good example of that, when I used to do electrician work, we were working on this log cabin and they took so long to actually get it built that the roof wasn't on it for probably like 2 or 3 months. So it was just getting rained on. All of the logs had warped. So it was almost impossible to run any electrical because it was already pre-drilled holes and they had all shifted and warped. So we had to get like 5-foot long drills just to get a plug in. So, that's definitely important to keep in mind. But yeah, I guess that kind of moves us on to the electrical systems. They're going to be checking for outdated systems, open ground systems, improper wiring / electrical work. Kind of work that you see that's, by a non-electrician. Maybe the previous homeowner was trying to do additions.
Which in our flip, we've been dealing with a lot of that. So we got one of these homes and believe it or not, it was a single wide and now it's considered a ranch house after it's been built around, many, many years afterwards. But we actually have 2 breaker boxes in the house, one from the original single wide and then one with the actual structure of the house. And our HVAC, which is our next topic, is actually ran separately to each box because the homeowner was an HVAC technician and they ended up, running it. And it's a commercial HVAC out there. It's not even like a residential one that you would use anymore. So, that's something that we've had to deal with. Yeah. And they actually installed them on single breakers where they're supposed to be on a double breaker. So it keeps on tripping on us. But yeah, that goes on to the next HVAC. Like you said, that electrical and HVAC, they go hand in hand. But obviously we want to stay cold and we want to stay hot when we want to. We want to be comfortable. So that's something that we need to take into consideration as well.
Yeah, and I think the next big thing as far as these goes in the systems is plumbing. You want to make sure that your plumbing's good. You don't have any water leaks. That gets back to the water. If you have bad plumbing, you're going to have a lot of other issues. It could branch into your electrical and into your structural. So, that's an important part of the inspection that they go over. Another thing they go over too is appliances. You want to make sure that all your appliances are working because, when you're showing a house and you're viewing a house, you're not going to be testing every appliance, not always.
Right, yeah.
So that's definitely important to check
get
out.
Those buyers. Sometimes you do, though. They'll be like, I want to run this dishwasher. I'm like, have a field day,
They're basically unlicensed home inspectors.
Yeah. But yeah, them appliances, and not even if they work correctly, but if they're properly installed, because believe it or not, especially stoves are a big one. If they're not properly installed to like where they can't tip, kids have been known to open the door, stand on them and they'll tip over and crush the baby or seriously injure them. So it's not just them nitpicking homes apart. This is serious safety concerns, and whether it might be a big deal to some, it is a huge deal to others. And they do need to be correctly installed.
Can you think of any other, major issues that you might run into?
Wood rot, whether you got, just decks. I know everyone's got a deck on their home and, obviously wood is not completely strained from the elements. It does rot as well. Even though we got trees going everywhere, they do rot. And I would say decks would rot, and especially if you got wood homes or like you said, those log cabins. You got to take extra good care of your wood, or it will rot pretty quickly if it's not sealed and maintained.
And most of these decks, they're not ever finished. So as far as getting sealed and painted, I definitely recommend that. If you already own your home and your deck's not fully finished, I would go ahead and get it sealed. That's just going to save you money down the line, prevent that wood rot as best as possible. But I think that really goes over our major issues. I think smaller issues you can get into, things like plugs, gutters, even as simple as doorknobs and strike plates. Those are all kind of minor issues that you want to kind of pay attention to. Plugs kind of goes into the electrical portion, but there's all kinds of different ways a plug can be messed up. And it's really a cheap fix. It's an easy fix. So definitely important to keep in mind.
Yeah, knobs and stuff. If your door's not properly closing, I even have clients that go into homes and they literally will just go and check out every door, make sure it opens and shuts correctly. And sometimes I'm like, guys, come on. But then there's times when it actually doesn't, and it's something that we have to write in the contract, to make sure those things are fixed. Because especially in today's market, when you're paying more than likely top dollar for a home, you want to be move-in ready for the most part, unless you're just getting a deal that you're going to make money on, but that's what we look for, and that's why the prices are going up too. There's so much competition, not only for first-time home buyers or seasoned home buyers, but as well as us investors. Everyone and their brothers coming out of the woodwork, seeing that real estate's one of the best investments you can make, and I don't blame them for trying. I've been telling them to for a long time. People are like, oh, y'all are just price gouging this, that, and the other. No, this is how we make our money. And just like you, we don't want to go and work for free. So we're not going to either. And if we can afford to buy these houses, at a discounted price and sell them at market value, then why not? Everyone has the same opportunities. You just have to go and work them.
Right. And I think, too, as far as investors go, I think they serve a really important role because a lot of these homes, they're just going to, kind of rot away if no one was going to come in there and take the risk to put in, tens of thousands of dollars to get them fixed up. They're going to end up, rotting away, and that's going to hurt, housing values in the neighborhood. But I guess if you're, plan on purchasing a home or you've already purchased a home, the next step is really worrying about preventative maintenance. So that if you ever decide to sell, or if you just plan on living in that house for, ever, you want to do preventative maintenance either way. And Jay, can you talk to us about some of the preventative maintenance that you can do to
so obviously, like we just talked about, some of those major issues that you run into are going to be the ones that you want to prevent them, do the maintenance to prevent those issues from happening more often. So I always like to tell people to, go and check out your HVAC, your water heater, your sump pump, your appliances and stuff like that, your roof. Have that checked, once a year, have it cleaned, whatever, even your roof. A lot of people don't know. Well, maybe not your roof necessarily. You don't want no one cleaning that unless you got moss and stuff growing up there, but like your siding and everything like that, your decks, you want it pressure washed so that stuff isn't getting on there, caked on there, and making it, deteriorate more quickly. So like I said, the HVAC, I always like to have the filter changed out. I think they say like once every month or every 2 months, but I like to once a year have someone come in, clean my system, my air ducts, make sure everything's running smoothly, everything's at the right pressure that it needs to be, make sure my water heater's pumping like it should, everything's getting hot, staying as hot as it should be, so that, I'm not worried about an element break-in or, my capacitor going out, down the road and it costing me more money than, initially a $125 inspection would have cost me.
Right, and that makes those systems last longer, which in the end ends up saving you money. Even as simple, though, as, putting batteries in your smoke detectors, making sure that those are going, you want to protect your investment. So, if you have a fire but all your batteries are dead, then you're kind of out of luck at that point. If you're not home.
Along with those batteries, check your GFCI receptacles, make sure that they're popping in and out as they should, because, you don't want something to happen and, it doesn't short out like it should and you cause a fire in your home or an electrical, bust, and it messes up your electrical system.
Keeping your gutters clean, if you have an open gutter system, you can just get a leaf blower. It takes about 10 minutes just to get your gutters cleaned out. And that's going to prevent a lot of water damage.
And people charge
issues.
A lot for that.
I know.
I actually seen this job. One of my buddies did $1,000. I mean, it's a pretty big house to clean out these gutters. It took him 2 hours to clean out the gutters. $1,000. But they's caked, and the homeowner paid it because she was like, it was an older lady, but it was 2 or 3 stories. It was a big home, but still, it took him 2 hours. Blow it out with a leaf blower.
You gotta get it done.
No.
Exhaust hoods, over your stove, you want to get
Mm-hmm.
those either cleaned out or replaced. That could be a fire hazard if it gets caked up with oil. So keep that in mind. Changing light bulbs is needed. That's another one. Just kind of small things in general, just keeping up with your house. This is going to help you if you ever decide to sell. It'll help you hold value on your home. That way you're not marketing to investors. If it's, a pristine home, you're going to put it on for market value.
Mm-hmm.
Preventative maintenance is definitely an important part of
Yep.
home ownership. So
And like we talked about earlier, even in your new constructions, you might want to have these home inspections. And I know you guys can't see it, but even like we go to show, you can zoom in if you want. But this is on a new construction home, and this is where the plumbing wasn't actually even attached. So that's why you want to have those things, because you start running your water, that stuff's just dripping into your crawl space or into your basement or what have you, and you're not only ruining whatever's below it, but you're also causing potential settlement in the foundation and all the dirt around your home. So, and then obviously you want, we have another thing right here where there's TPR discharge in the basement, basically a rainforest down there. So these people didn't have their water heater sitting in the proper drain pan with the drain tube, going out into the condensation line. So it ended up swamping the basement, and where no one had known for so long, all the heat and humidity had built up, and there was like literally a fog down in the basement. He said, I thought that was pretty wild. Yeah. And then he found a little something when he was inspecting a fridge at one point. He found, it was a doctor, by the way. It wasn't just, some random person, but he found breast implants in the kitchen freezer. So, like I said, you can zoom in and check it out if you like. But that's the joys of being a home inspector. You never know what you're going to get,
I could imagine.
And that's why I like being a realtor. I mean, you don't have to be a home inspector to see that. I'm sure that all of us in this room could say about the crazy stories we've seen walking into some of these houses, and you're like, how the heck do people live like this, or what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Like, holy cow.
Happens more often than you think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And like we talked about, we just want to give a little shameless plug to John Taylor, because he was supposed to do this episode with us, but we had a little technical difficulties with the mics back then, and we both been too busy to get together. So we wanted to go ahead and run this episode, especially with the market picking up. We thought it was going to be very informational for our buyers and sellers alike. So we do want to give a shout out to John. He services Hard, Meaden, Breck, Grayson, Edmondson, Hart, LaRue, Greene, Taylor, Marion, Washington, Nelson, Spencer, Shelby, Oldham, Jefferson counties, and pretty much anything within a 90-minute radius of Brandenburg, or E-Town. And he's available. Yeah, that's a lot of counties, but he's a busy guy, and he stays busy, and he does great work. So obviously that speaks for himself. And I'm pretty sure he said that he's going to be, thinking about bringing on some more crew members, to assist his clients even more. And he said actually coming soon, he's going to be offering radon testing and infrared inspection. So he's going to be able to tell you the different levels in your home, which is pretty impressive and kind of a necessity around these parts, especially with basement houses. It's very common to have radon and stuff like that in your basement, especially if you don't use it much and keep the airflow going. That's basically all a radon mitigation system is. And then
he does. He also does residential inspections, obviously, commercial inspections, termite inspections, mold sampling, chimney inspections. And he continues to add on to that. He's very professional about it, and it seems like he's always getting a new, education or a new license in that field. So.
He's a go-getter. Like you said, he's always getting those respected credentials. And like we mentioned earlier, he does do the 90-day buyback guarantee home inspection, which is very nice. So he has that insurance in place if you do find something that he might have missed, which as many years as we've been doing business together, I haven't seen him miss one yet. So that's a pretty outstanding record right there. He does offer those new construction inspections. He offers an 11-month warranty inspection. So obviously if your home warranty is coming up, like we said, they last for a year, but you can renew them for a discounted price for the second year, and he'll actually come and do that inspection for your home warranty company, which is nice. Move-in certified inspector, so he'll go there probably during our rental exchanges and stuff, make sure that the home checks out, and he'll go and do a follow-up inspection when they move out, make sure everything is as it was, because he has the documents. He'll save it in his computer and his files, and he'll have it for years to come.
Very organized.
He is an organized man, and he did all this for us. We always have an episode, wrote up a little script just to stay on topic or whatnot, but John went above and beyond to, write us a book.
And, hopefully we can have him back out. At some
Oh,
point.
we will definitely have him
Yeah.
back out. We got another episode actually in the works with him that I'd really like him to do, and that's kind of why we moved on to this episode, is because me and Josh were talking. This is a great episode and a great time for it. But there's another episode coming up in the future that John, I think, will be more beneficial on, and so we're excited. And he has a few things in the work himself, so we also kind of wanted him to iron those out so he can come and introduce that to you guys as well. But he does obviously basically a home inspection on any condo, log home, modular, stick built. It doesn't matter. And like you said, he does the residential inspection, the 4-point inspection, certified roof inspector, chimney, fireplace, stoves, what have you. He'll even go as far as doing pre-drywall inspections. So whenever they get the framing done, he'll go in these new constructions and make sure everything's lined out properly and how it should be according to the specs. And like you said, he did the commercial inspection. Does he do the mold mitigation or does he not? Does he?
He mentioned it when he was here. I think that he's working on that.
That's what he was working on. Yeah.
I don't think he currently does mold mitigation, but he does do the mold sampling, so he can let you know at least what kind of mold it is. But he'll probably have recommendations if you wanted to get that mitigated.
And he does do the termite inspections as well, so that's pretty nice too. I mean, he's about standard prices everyone else.
It's a VA requirement.
Yep, it is VA and FHA requirement. And obviously around here we live in the sticks. You're gonna find termites somewhere if you look hard enough. So, the termite companies are doing just fine for themselves.
You know what I found out? They used to use a type of poplar wood when they built homes like 100 or 200 years ago, and termites and like carpenter ants, they don't eat it. Yep. So that's why those houses stand so long. Cause
they also used to instead of sealing them, they would char them. So they would actually place them on fire, and that would also deter the insects and stuff like that. So that's pretty neat. And I guess before we hop off, so we've had a pretty entertaining
local news
time in Kentucky the last month. I mean, it's always a special time in May for us because we got the Kentucky Derby, 150th one, closest race in history happened this year. Yeah. Pretty exciting stuff. Did you guys win or lose?
I lost.
I lost too. I lost.
That's a hard one to call.
I only won one race that day, and it did not pay off for all the other losses. So that's not cool.
But we have the PGA Tour here in Louisville at the Valhalla Golf Course, which, Jay, I'm sure you could speak more to this, but Scotty Scheffler, you want to tell us what happened with Scotty?
Hey, I can't speak for the man, but I'm sure y'all seen it on the news. He was
By the way, if you don't know, he's ranked the #1 golfer in the world. So
yeah, and they have the PDGA Championships at Valhalla this year in 2024, and he is, like you said, the #1 PGA golfer. And he did get into an altercation this morning before the second round. And things happen. We haven't heard the whole story, so I don't want to dive into it. But let's just say I don't know if Louisville will have another PGA championship in the future after the news today.
They released him. So, yeah, he went to jail. Not sure why or what the details are, but got released and then ended up coming in 6th place.
Yeah, well, it's still going on, and it's actually live right now. And actually, after getting arrested this morning, he goes to his first hole, and he birdies the first hole. Imagine the mental strength you have to have. He birdied.
Oh, really?
Birdie on the first hole. I'm sure he's eagled a couple times since then.
After being the hype of the news.
Literally. I mean, that's not what I want to be put on the map for, but hey, that's pretty cool for Louisville to be blowing up like it is this week. I don't know the last time that the championship was in town. I guess quite a while ago. But Ethan, didn't you say that your buddy's out there doing a scorecard or something for him?
Yeah, my friend is he's running score for the group of Michael Block.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
And had to get out there at 5 a.m. yesterday.
And he got to witness or hear the eagle that happened actually from Scheffler, didn't he?
Heard he was right in front of him, and then got to see Tiger Woods.
That's pretty cool.
He was pretty hyped.
I've had a few friends that have been up there this week and last week during the practice round, and they're all taking pics of Tiger. It's like, oh, here's Tiger. So, I mean, it's crazy to see, he's going out there just for the heck of it. He just wants to prove to himself. He has nothing else to prove. He's been the best golfer for, longer than anyone's been the best golfer in history. So he has nothing else to prove. It's pretty cool to see him out there and competing still, after those injuries that he's been set back on. It's pretty impressive, and I'm glad to see him still out there getting it. And, we've us three have actually turned into a little bit of golfers ourselves. Might not be PGA Championship
No,
worthy, but you
definitely
put us
not.
on DV and we're gonna have at you.
Oh yeah, that's our turf.
I got Scramble coming up Saturday. I hope I do well, but I don't think I'm gonna be putting on the show like that Shuffle guy, that 62. That's
How do you
impressive.
say his name?
I don't know how you say it. I probably butchered it. Souffle. Souffle. Hey, I don't care what you call me. If I could shoot a 62, I'd be damn happy about that.
Yeah,
But
Yep.
no,
the purse is $20 million. That is a prize right there.
I'll take last cash for 100.
Yeah, I'll just show up for free.
Yeah. Hey, me and Joshua's actually looking like after this all blows over, we'd like to just go play the course. And shoot, we ain't gonna be playing that course anytime soon.
Dude, is that John Daly?
Yeah, he withdrew. He probably got too drunk.
I
No,
love
it's
John
pretty cool to
Daly.
see him out there. And actually, him and Tiger was doing a little bit of a range session together. So it's cool to
Mickelson.
see two of the greats out there. And he apparently had a pretty good eagle as well. Mickelson did.
Mickelson's out there. How's Tiger doing?
He's doing.
83rd.
What's cut line? That's probably about cut line.
What's that mean?
Like for
Even?
cash.
Oh,
Like the
Doesn't-
last round, like some of the field would be cut.
it doesn't say.
That's still impressive, though. I mean, I like golf. I might
Yeah.
not like watching it as much as I like playing it, but I hope to play well over the next couple of weeks. And then Monday, actually, since we closed on one of our flips, me and the boys, we're going to go out and play some golf Monday at
That's awesome.
Hartman. Haven't been out there yet, so I'm excited to try that course.
Where's that one at?
In E-Town.
Oh, I got you.
Yep. That's
Oh,
where they're
yeah,
doing
yeah, Hartman.
they're bringing in the Top Golf, indoor golf, or whatever.
They're doing the Top Golf thing?
It's not Top Golf brand, but it's
Similar.
the same thing.
So is
yeah.
it like an open field or is it a simulator?
Open field with
Oh,
like the
okay.
screens and stuff. It's like Top Golf, just not Top Golf
That's
brand.
cool.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, today was inspecting investments, talking about the Masters. The Derby just happened. It's an exciting time in Kentucky and in real estate because the real estate market's picking up for us. The weather's heating up, and so is the market.
Yeah, that's how it goes every year.
Yep.
Good time to buy or sell.
Yep. And before we tune off, we would like to ask you to go ahead and give us a like, share, subscribe, comment below, whatever. And go ahead. I know we've mentioned it. We're only at 40 followers on TikTok. At 100 followers, we're going to be doing a giveaway. We've been reaching about 1,000 to 2,000 views on there per video. So that's pretty cool to see us getting a little more traction on, different platforms than the others. So that's why we want to, expand ourselves into all different areas to see what works. And, obviously leave your comments and stuff below, what you think that we could do better or learn from, or even topics that you might want to hear. And before we tune off, Josh, you want to give a thanks to our sponsors?
Yeah, I'd like to thank our title sponsors for this episode. Thank you to Collier Title Company. They do deed prep, title work, closings, and more. They're located in Brandenburg, E-Town, and Louisville. You can call them at 270-763-6589. And then for this week's sponsor, We Buy Houses, we offer cash and can close in as little as 2 weeks. You can give us a call at 270-945-5416 and 270-945-7189.
270-945-7189. Thank you. And y'all have a great day.